There might have been a few dupes hurt this time. Hello and welcome back to Oxygen Not Included Let's Play Vanilla vs Exploits. My name is Luma, and in the last episode we created this 10,000 watt power energy system, as well as this research area right here. I have this planetary connecting crude oil and water system, as well as the cold steam vent tamer to the left on the second planetoid, which is also housing a giant amount of storage bins. I'll be honest, as always, the plans for the day were going into space and colonizing another planetoid here. But I got distracted, and the dupes weren't a great help, to be honest. Speaking of dupes not being a great help, here you can see Steakooo peeing in our water reservoir. Why is that little bugger here anyways? Well, I want to know what is underneath this granite and obsidian. What volcano could hide here? Our quick check tells us it seems like an iron volcano. Good to know and very useful for the future. Also, Steakooo is missing their head. Technically, I want to start today by giving Steakooo a proper oxygen setup. Because, as you can see, we only have high oxygen pressure down here, which is all polluted oxygen. But because I don't want our other duplicants to get lazy, I have some plans for this here. As you can see, we are missing our research station. The issue was our research station got a little bit hot and I deconstructed it. So now we can place down a new one a little bit to the right, deconstruct this, make a proper room out of it. Maybe deconstruct this and replace it with a heavyweight joint plate. Of course, only after this cable has been deconstructed, add another door, and then add another drop of liquid. So we can add our interstellar transport system to the left, this one. So we need to deconstruct the solar panel here. The interplanetary launcher will be used to send sand to Steakoos Paradize. The materials which we will feed into it will come from down in the base. That is why you see me build a very long conveyor rail, while still trying to avoid areas where hot stuff might drop. The conveyor loader, meaning the input, will be placed right next to the input for the teleporter to the second planetoid. Right here. The interplanetary launcher itself is powered with red bolts. Since I don't plan on using it too frequently, I'm just siphoning off the red bolts from our already established red bolt generator to the right. A little bit of automation will do the rest. The automation at the moment being, if radiation research station is full, do no longer have the red bolt reflector activated. Or the other way around, the red bolt reflector is only activated if the research station is not filled with red bolts, allowing the interplanetary launcher to be powered. Just a small issue here, no sand on this planetoid. But we can send that over from the second to the first planet. We can even improve on our effectiveness and connectivity with the help of a few conveyor rails, conveyor loaders and auto sweepers. Now that this has been finished, I want to add a little bit more automation to this setup here, because if this one is filled with 100 red bolts, it will tell the red bolt reflector to turn off, meaning the red bolt coming from the red bolt generator will go to this red bolt reflector and fill up the interplanetary launcher. But once this is filled up, it will keep on shooting. We don't want that. Which is why I added this little bit of automation. The filter gate set to .1 seconds here. Now we should be able to send over the materials that we need for Steakooo, sand and other stuff, if the dupes finish this freaking line here. The sand coming from the second planetoid is now delivered to our one tile storage, where the autosweeper will send it up to the interplanetary launcher, filling it up and readying it for send off. Now we give it a few seconds to have enough material and it immediately shot it out. Let's set this to the highest possible amount. Well, it already is. There's no helping it, the interplanetary payloads are already on their way, but maybe we can manage to build a targeting beacon so that they don't land all over the place. Well, that failed. The payloads were faster and now they are all over the place, like I said. But Steakoo's oxygen issues are getting out of hand, so I think it is time to address that. I will build an oxygen setup. Maybe right here. Since I have built self-powered oxygen machines way too often in this let's play already, I will show the building process in quick succession and maybe explain it afterwards. This version is a water efficient version that will stop producing oxygen when you don't need it. But it also means that you only get enough oxygen for around 4 or 5 duplicants. I can make parts of this self-powered, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that, because we should have enough energy in the future from the solar panels. Man, finally! Building with a single stressed duplicant is the absolute worst, I tell you that. Okay, let's check this out. I want to connect up this pipe so that our electrolyzer activates, producing hydrogen and oxygen. But before that, I want to deactivate both of our pumps. Water is in, the electrolyzer should now power up if it would have power. So, power to the electrolyzer powers up, fills the room with oxygen and hydrogen. Now we are at overpressure. Now we can activate a single pump. There's oxygen and there's hydrogen. I want the hydrogen for the filter. There we go. Now let's see if we can get this going after rebuilding the gas valve. I isolated one of our hydrogen packages right here. Now I connect it up to this loop that Steakooo hasn't set to 0.1. Then we repeat connecting up hydrogen pockets to the loop until it is completely filled, meaning all 4 tiles. Now that the mechanical filter is working and our hydrogen is automatically being filtered out, we can reconnect the disconnected pipes, bring in the hydrogen to the hydrogen generator and the oxygen to the base. In order to automate this, to automatically stop as soon as we have oxygen backed up in the pipe, meaning we have enough oxygen in the base, I'm placing a few gas pipe element sensors, checking if there's oxygen in the pipe, connecting them up to a filter gate, a cable towards the electrolyzer, and a NOT gate in order to have it not activated when there's oxygen for the desired amount of time, as well as a cable from the electrolyzer to the gas pumps. Now this should work good enough for this base, with either clean, polluted or salt water, partly self-powered. Important side note. Because for some dumb reason this thermal sensor is set to above 100 degrees Celsius, I did not set it to that. I promised you that. Our anti-entropy thermal nullifier did not activate, meaning this room is way too hot and almost 1,000,000 calories of food has rotted away. Great, thank you game. Meanwhile on Wade's planet, the storage bins have been deconstructed and the mess picked up and delivered to the new storage bin area to the right. And while cleaning up, I might have noticed some dumb mistakes. Fail. Instead of deleting the beautiful windows, I quickly fixed that issue by rearranging the schedules of the duplicants so that they only sleep at night. Which brings us back to cleaning and clearing out the area underneath the living quarters. Using our now proper oxygen setup, we expanded on Steakoo's utilities. They are now only able to leave the room with an oxygen mask on. In addition to that, I also had the brilliant idea to send over a lot of glass. This will help us solve the energy problem for Steakoo. After starting off with the heavy watt wire in the middle and the solar panels to the left and to the right, I added a huge amount of energy storage capacity in form of rocket batteries. Then I noticed that the heavy watt wires are better off in other places and expanded on the solar panels. Following that up, we got an amazing gift from the printing portal bot. 8 more Parkoos. Every additional wild Parkoo is very welcome. That is why I prepared an area for them down here. After we build all the tiles that help the Parkoo find the right way, we can print them and let nature find its way. They also probably need some water. Besides that, I want a few more gas storage reservoirs, just because. On the main planet, in the Magma and Abyssalite Removal faction, someone was stupid and dropped liquid into our magma. That is the steam that you see in the background. Luckily, the steam problem solved itself pretty quickly, whereas the sour gas issue that we had later on was harder to get rid of. On the second planetoid, the power supplied by the natural gas geyser as well as the solar panels is not enough to fully power the base, which is why an oil refinery in combination with a polymer press and a petroleum generator could be a solution power-wise, and the plastic produced by the polymer press will help the mobility of the duplicants, in form of transit tubes of course. Speaking of upgrades, the main planet could definitely use some, whether it may be decor, adding to the transport system, clearing out old remnants, or even adding completely new rooms. This, for example, is going to be a hospital room. Sweet, now we can have one dupe be ill in a deluxe environment. Staying on topic, we can even add a massage clinic, for the very unlikely case of our dupes getting stressed. You got that this was sarcasm, the dupes are stressed all the time. And now we should have our room bonus. Nice. We might even need our hospital considering our radiation hazard down here, which is why I am encasing it in lead tiles. As far as I know, lead tiles are the best in protecting your duplicants from the radiation. At the moment we are down to around 63 reds per cycle. And for the decor I was going with, oh wait, I have an idea. Do you guys remember what we did with the toilets in the first episode? And now check this out. This is what I call decor bombing. Speaking of unnecessary decor and wasting a lot of granite, I ordered the dupes to statue spam. Meanwhile, at Steakoo's place, you might not realize it immediately, but those have been hundreds of cycles. So there was a lot of digging going on. And we even managed to place in some drywall, no longer needing the doors to stop the oxygen from escaping. Let's go back in time for a few seconds. This is what happened in between. Even more Parkour. And because I didn't want them to go to waste, we had to do the old switcheroo. Change out the tiles so that Parkour can drop down. The parkour just need their time to flop their way into the pool. So what else happened in between? Well, the usual. But the question should be not just what happened, but why it happened. Here you can see an uncovered volcano. That was clearly my fault for not noticing that it had 5 neutronium foundation tiles, not just 4. So I counted out the wrong tile to block. Also, this weird game behavior. After a few more cycles of digging, I tried tackling the heat problem. In order to reach and encase the volcano with insulation tiles, I tried out this absurd idea here. A line of temp shift plates made out of ice. So let's see how this goes. It failed terribly, but I haven't had much hope for it anyways. And what is even worse, that little idiot gets their eyes from the left side of the volcano. While we are still at testing dumb methods, why not build the temp shift plates above and drop the icy cold water on top of the volcano? Well, it was worth a try. If you normally try to close up a volcano, you place a dirt temp shift plate in the space the hot liquid normally drops, which in this case didn't work either, leaving me no other choice than to make a proper atmosuit setup. And since Steakooo is only allowed to leave their room with an oxygen mask on, we need a setup for that as well. All of this work and experimenting just to close up this dumb volcano. In between I felt like checking in on the second planetoid, where I have added a second polymer press and connected up the excess petroleum to a petroleum boiler. Since we cleaned out this area on top, the bottom is next. Not much later, the next heat issue for Steakooo arose, which stems from this abyssalite being very hot. Solution is, just stop digging it up. The water will take care of the rest. After that, more digging. Same time, different planet, we can finally get rid of the magma that is blocking our base from space access. And if you are now wondering how I did get rid of all this magma, let's turn back time a little bit and let me show you. First I cleared out an area with the help of pitcher pumps, and after deconstructing them and cleaning out the area, I tried the SWEEPY bot method. I quickly hooked up the Sweepies to the power grid using a refined metal, lead cable and a steel cable in the hot area. The Sweepy stations are made out of steel also, so they can withstand the heat, but apparently the Sweepies are not. I thought the material that a station is built from influences the material that a Sweepy has to be, so a steel station can only accept steel is what I thought. But apparently I was wrong. The Dupes kept delivering metals to make the Sweepies from that melt way too fast. So even though the Sweepy dock is made out of steel, the Sweepies themselves will be made out of the material that the duplicants deliver to the Sweepy station. In this case, copper that wasn't able to handle the heat. I'm not sure how you can tell the duplicants to only deliver steel, so I will be using an auto sweeper for that. But apparently the game didn't like me killing too many Sweepies. Okay, here we are back again. That was a weird crash. Let me jump ahead in time a little bit. Here are a few fresh new Sweepy docks. They will be supplied with the steel stored in the storage bin. So our Sweepies should now be made out of steel. Which they are. They should be able to handle the heat now. We can keep an eye on this Sweepy now and check if this works. Why? My Sweepies are made out of steel. Okay, I just got buried. Tired of undigging the Sweepies all the time, I added one of those automatic miners, which immediately came into play and worked perfectly fine. After clearing out that first area, I tried to make the ground level so the Sweepies can sweep up the rest. And be assured, I'm totally aware that this might be a dumb method that is ineffective, but it is also funny. How often can you use Sweepies to sweep up magma? So after making everything plain, the debris sucked up most of the heat. The duplicants then took care of the rest. And that is how we got here. I know that our messy gas environment on the second planetoid is driving some of you guys crazy. Hence I prepared a lot of mechanical filters. And while we were here, I reactivated the Einhaler water production facility and cleaned out the area in the lower right, as well as freeing the chlorine geyser, which even though it normally isn't useful, helps with cooling. Whereas on the main planetoid, upgrades were the next priority. Since a few guys suggested berry sludge, I'm adding a microbe musher to the kitchen setup and a few more of those fancy pixel packs for the background. The unnecessary egg cracker to the right can now go and will be replaced with another electric grill. Rearranging the pixel packs was a pain and I missed a spot. Meanwhile, Skycloud was so stressed that he froze in place. At least he stopped destroying buildings. His calorie count is at 0. Oh, that is not... yeah, good. I noticed this before and really tried moving him around, but he just wouldn't budge. So now we got this, and I probably have to reload. What the actual...
I have a counter proposal.
Who the heck are you?
How about you don't SkyCloud was needlessly raging, destroying your building, peeing all over the floor, and didn't even listen to your orders, even though his life depended on it. So again, how about leaving him dead? Pull away.
Ignoring that guy for a second, rewatching the time-lapse of the now deceased SkyCloud, upgrading the ladder system to a plastic ladder system, and having the pips plant weeswarts on the pre-planned areas, gave me time to think about whether I want to reload for SkyCloud. But I think I'm gonna go with that portal dude's idea. So here's a moment of appreciation for you. And now we got free clothing for someone to inherit. How about a respectfully worn snazzy suit for you, David? There you go, it suits you very well. Remember the reason for clearing out that area here? Expanding the base. We can break through here, close this off, let the oxygen flow in, create some ladders and some floors, deconstruct everything that doesn't fit the layout, and then don't forget about the tiny platforms for the transit tube access points. Exposed space tiles of course need to be covered. In our case we are using granite drywall, and then deconstruct the insulation dividing those areas. Maybe already add a transit tube access point. Then checking in on McLim, noticing that we have a heat issue, thoroughly ignoring that for the moment, while progressing with the deconstruction errands, until the situation gets too dire for McLim and we have to save them. At least they can try out the new hospital. And then all that is left to do is to put in the floors. Of course only made out of the finest materials. The power spine to the left is the extended version of the one down in the base. It is also superheated, cooking our duplicants, because I missed an obsidian tile there. At least we're making use of the temporary cots and our lovely hospital. I will not take care of the heat issue in the new part of the base the regular way. I will just place in so many statues made out of granite that the temperature evens out easily. Which worked like a charm with that method. Just a few dupe lengths away to the top right, I have improved the connectivity of the base with more transit tubes. And as you just saw, I'm rerouting the output petroleum through a temperature exchanger. Because the output temperature of the petroleum decides the temperature of the petroleum generators, which in itself decide the temperature of the output polluted water, which is responsible for the output temperature of the crude oil, influencing the petroleum temperature again. The research station Red Bolt producing area also got an upgrade, in form of the stacked liquid lock. Stacked liquid locks only make sense in areas where the dupes wear atmosuits. The reason for the stacked liquid lock upgrade is we are losing hydrogen every time a dupe leaves the room. And the water that kept the hydrogen in check had to be replaced with crude oil anyways, because it kept freezing or evaporating. In order to create the stacked liquid lock, make enough room for a regular pneumatic door and place a bottle emptier next to it. Once those are built, you can start with the heavier of both liquids. In our case, crude oil. I'm just going to steal the crude oil from down here. The dupe can mop up a little bit. We even got a little bit of leftover petroleum right here, which we can use. And then we transport both to the bottle emptier and just drop it. Not going perfectly, the dupes delivered the lighter of the two liquids first. But let's see where this is going. Deconstruct the bottle emptier and place it one tile higher, something like this. And then deliver the second liquid. Let's try it with crude oil, even though it is the denser of the two liquids. David is delivering the crude oil, so we can play the start-stop game, in order to not drop too much crude oil, which we did. And because crude oil is the denser liquid, it sinks to the bottom. We can make this look nicer by mopping up this tile here, placing in another tile, and adding the crude oil drop on top again, creating a crude oil mess for the second time. But this time we can get rid of it by deconstructing and reconstructing tiles. After that has been done, I also deconstructed the solar panels and placed them one tile to the right, so that we can have the heavy white joint plate at the edge of the build. As compensation for all the stress I'm putting the duplicants through, I thought about building them a second gaming/recreation room. Just because I had it lying around, I sent my wolframite to the second planetoid so the duplicants can make tungsten out of it. We are finally closer to what I actually had planned for today. Rockets that help us get further into space travel, allowing us to progress our goal of colonizing every planetoid. And to further that goal, I'm starting with a few transit tubes and access point. And I also want to recapture the heat of the starting rocket, which is why I'm extending the metal tiles here to the right. The cables also can be rearranged a little bit, so we can regain a lot of our materials. The issue being, we just have to get into our steam room and get it. So this could end up in a mess, but it doesn't necessarily have to. Hans Martin and McLim are doing a great job of deconstructing it fast and collecting the materials. Now someone just has to mop the petroleum up and close the room. Then I noticed that I'm missing a ladder for the duplicants to get out of the freaking thing. Then I rearranged the rocket platforms, which I built out of the cheapest material I had lying around, lead while hoping they won't melt down. Oh yeah, right, while taking on all those building projects, I freaking cooked the base. And here are the culprits for that. While collecting materials from up here, I forgot to deactivate mafic rock and other stuff for the one-tile storage. Leaving that issue aside, it is finally time to build a proper rocket. So let's start with a big petroleum engine, made out of steel. What else do we need? Probably a spacefarer module. I'm gonna make this out of copper ore. We also need a nose cone that we can't build because we are missing insulation. Okay, what exactly is insulation? Well, then let's do other modules first. The orbital cargo module and 1 or 2 trailblazer modules. Often you will use 2 trailblazer modules, which you then deconstruct on the respective planetoid to build a rocket platform for your rocket in space to land. Another module that you will definitely need is the oxidizer tank, because if you're using a petroleum engine, you will need an oxidizer for your petroleum to burn effectively for the rocket. Then we can place down a ladder for the duplicants to start building that thing and expand it with a few batteries and solar panels. Now we are back to the dreaded nose cone. What is an insulator? Let me check that quickly. Until I have checked that, let's save Meepo Nintbit from a certain demise. According to the wiki, an insulator is either refined carbon, ceramic, or insulation, which I don't even notice in regular games because I just have them lying around. But we used up all refined carbon and haven't even produced a single piece of ceramic. But now that we do have refined carbon, we can send that over back to the main planetoid and use it for the rocket nose cone. Following that up, I thought a few more solar panels wouldn't hurt, until I noticed that we still don't have a liquid fuel tank, because the engine in itself has no fuel capacity. In order to make room for that, I removed the orbital cargo module and a few solar panels, which gave us enough space to add a large liquid fuel tank that I wanted to have near the engine for visual reasons. After that, we need to fill up the oxidizer tank with either oxalite or fertilizer. Since there's no fertilizer on the main planet, the second planetoid sends some over. And the fuel itself, in this case petroleum, will just be siphoned off from our petroleum boiler. So let's grab this pipe here, bridge it over a few times, connect it up and automate it. For that I just used a shutoff and a switch, so anytime I need some petroleum for the rocket, I just flip the switch, allowing us to siphon off petroleum and use it for the rocket. Then I noticed that the Dupes couldn't reach the last pipe pieces, but rearranging the rocket modules fixed that issue. Just a little bit of adjusting for the piping was needed. Now we can fuel up the rocket, which will support our endeavor to get to more planetoids, which we then can exploit. What you see here is the astronomy research that I smacked down quickly, in order for us to uncover more space tiles around our planetoids. Even Steakooo had to do some research, helping us uncover the space tiles around his planetoid. On the main, the research wasn't very fruitious, because we have almost nothing around. This is how our planets look now. This is the second planetoid, Wade's planet, where we uncovered the whole bottom area, started a petroleum plastic production, expanded on the transit tube system, still having our food production running nice, which you can see by the 8.9 million calories that are found right here in the middle. Not to forget about Steakooo, who single-handedly almost completely dug out this planet, while being ecological friendly at the same time, living in this tiny spacefarer module. Whereas the main planetoid looks like this now. We have infinite storages and food production to the right, a lot of statues to the left, a hot steam vent tamer left in the middle, even more statues in the power spine on the top left, and the middle contains all of our hot material in a vacuum. The petroleum boiler, steam turbine, petroleum generator setup pretty much in the middle on top, and a rocket for future endeavors to the right. The rocket engine heat energy will be reusable, but sadly we still haven't built the interior, leaving me lots and lots to do. If you got your worth out of this episode, I would be very happy for a like, cause this took like 4 days to edit. Love you guys and Luma out.
Witzigerweise ist der gestorben ist, auch der einzige Patron, der den Patron verlassen hat. Es war ein ganz guter Duplicant eigentlich, aber der wollte offensichtlich jetzt sterben. Wenn er das so will, kann ich daran jetzt nichts ändern. Und der andere kotzt in seinen Anzug aus Stress.